Good day, everybody, and welcome to the Ammunation. I am your host, Craig Bragg, and with me tonight is the irredeemable Irving Twin. How are you, sir?
Living the dream, living the
I saw
dream.
I saw you or my post about tonight's live stream got a bit of a negative reaction from somebody on Twitter.
I don't even know who that is. Is it
Me
someone we know
neither.
and they're funny? I just saw it and was like, all right, let's play.
Yeah. So no, I think they were 100% legit. Someone called Dakota Princess. Let's see a picture of her. She's someone called she's a finance student mastering theories and fantasies, numbers and naughtiness, taking new applicants for content partners. Oh, and she shows her thick booty in like her first she like dresses like a trollop. I mean, she's not bad looking, I'm not gonna lie, but
Finance major, also sell feet pics on OnlyFans.
yeah, she's got a bit
Okay.
of she's kind of thick. She's got a thick booty. But
Isn't it funny? It's just funny. If you use the racist term invented by Jews to describe non Jews, that's anti Semitism. How the fuck did
yeah,
that happen?
yeah, so tonight's live stream, if you saw, is the Canadian flag, but the maple leaf has been replaced by the laughing cow, which is a red heifer, and the subtitle is "Who's laughing now, Goyim?" Which is, yeah, it's a derogatory term for anything that's Gentiles basically. So us. I got a few
Literally non
few yeah, yeah, non-Jews are Goyim, and it's
Yeah.
derogatory. Um, So we got some comments. We got Costin in. Hello, Costin. Well, thank you for coming in. Ammunation, where the hosts are evil and so is chat. Yes, absolutely. Pox is late and gay, or we're late and gay because we did start a little bit after 10.
Yeah, the one time that we're late in months, he's on time and calling us late.
Yeah. Don't speak honestly about Craig Bragg. Uh, hey, WR. Hey, Pox. And there we go. Delta. Greater Ajax, not Delta Male. Greater Ajax, sorry. And how you doing, Ajax? And hey, Ajax, hit me up on Discord later. Not too shabby, Pox. How about you? Will do, Pox. Okay. So they're having a nice little side convo. Yeah, so the reason
Welcome.
the reason for sorry, go ahead. You're about to
I
say?
just said welcome, guys.
Welcome all. Thank you for popping by. I messaged a high school friend of mine on Facebook. I said, "Hey, you should watch my live stream because he's an irreverent sort. I remember him from high school being pretty funny guy. So he used to uh, be quite entertaining at the bush parties. And yeah, I found him on Facebook, and he posts some edgy memes from time to time. Problem is, he's a flat earther, so I don't want to get into that. But I just, you know what, let people believe what they want to believe, right? Um, if he decides he wants to get into the flat Earth stuff, then we'll just ignore it. But haven't seen him here yet. He says he's gonna watch though, so hopefully he's here. Okay. Hey, Greater Ajax is Costin. No CMAC yet tonight. She's probably very busy, you know. She's a busy business person. So
Just got a
that's okay
job and
though.
stuff.
She's all employed and shit. Okay, let's start with our regular. Do you even lift, bro? How you been? How's your fitness journey going, sir?
It's going, you know. Uh, someone, I went to my sister and brother-in-law, the B's place. They got a gym in their apartment. It's really nice. It's really good,
Hmm.
right? Considering how small it is and how few pieces of equipment. But between their few fancy pieces of equipment, you can do everything. Um, so it's fantastic. And my brother-in-law said, well, we were doing chest day, right?
Yeah.
But he's like, hey, yeah, and that thing you got going on in your back under your arm. Remember, I was telling you, like, I can't get my fucking lats to fucking pop.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you do that? I was like, oh my god, thank you for saying so because I thought I was imagining it. Uh, so yeah,
It just
where
takes
was
a
I going?
while.
It does,
I knew a
and
guy. I knew a guy in high school. He was a buddy of my brother's. A good buddy of my brother's, Ricky Sloan. He had a cobra back, man. Like this guy lifted constantly. He had a
Yeah.
cobra, and I was like, wow, like that guy's built. Yeah, poor Ricky. He passed away shortly
Oh,
after high school. He was at a party, and something happened. It's just they found him down at the bottom of some stairs at some bar, and he was passed out. And I guess he auto asphyxiation. So
oof.
kind of sucks. Yeah.
Well, now how the fuck am I supposed to talk about my games after that?
No, it's ancient history. I did legs today. You said you're doing chest. I did legs today,
Yeah,
and it was a good workout. But I know tomorrow I'm going to be feeling it. I'm going to be in so much pain tomorrow.
good.
Good thing tomorrow's Sunday.
Just do a little stretch, take a little walk, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I did a lot. I do a lot of walking with the two dogs. I do a lot of walking. So, but yeah, no, I'm almost full rack on the leg extensions and the curls. Eh?
Nice.
Yeah, it's a cable machine, right? With the
Yeah.
rectangular plates. I'm almost at the full rack
How
for
much
for
weight is
both.
that?
130. Yeah, 130.
It's really good.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna feel it tomorrow. I don't feel it now, but I'm gonna feel it tomorrow. My God. But yeah.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah.
While you're thinking, with summer coming, right? I was wondering, like, oh yeah, maybe I should worry about like calorie restriction and stuff, and maybe alter the workouts. But then somebody else noticed lat growth on me, and I was like,
Yeah.
fuck, no. You know what I've got to do? I've got to add more workout and not change my diet, because if I change my diet, I'll start losing any muscle mass I gained. And it's so
Well,
hard at this age to gain muscle mass without fucking
I don't I don't
drugs,
think
right?
I don't think you'll lose muscle mass by restricting your diet. You might slow the growth of muscle mass if you concentrate on protein and you reduce your caloric intake, right? But you concentrate on protein where you're taking in more protein by ratio than like carbs or fats. You're not going to lose muscle mass because you're constantly invigorating them. You're constantly stimulating them. Just the fact that you have fewer calories with which to work out means that you might not grow them as quickly as you'd like, right? So because you're taking in fewer calories, you can't push as strong. You can't work out as strong because you don't have enough energy. So
It's just not a risk I want to take, right? Because
fair enough.
I'm not I'm not fat per se,
Yeah,
but I can't
you could
that,
afford to bulk. Yeah, you absolutely could afford to bulk.
and I can afford to go one summer without, like, my abs popping out of my t-shirt. It's fine.
Fuck, you know what, dude? I never had abs. Even when I was a skinny kid, I didn't have abs because I was never athletic. I was just a skinny kid. But I can see where they're going to be now. So I've got
Yeah,
enough fat
that's what
removed
I'm
from my belly that I can see where the abs are going to be when I lose more fat. But but yeah, so and I'm not even that concerned about getting below 10% body fat. I don't need to look good with my shirt off. I need to look good in spandex. That's all I'm concerned about is looking good in spandex. So anyway, let's move on. Anything we'll go to do even game grow. I haven't really been gaming too much. How about you?
just, again, I'm on the Warhammer kick, the Total War.
Yep,
So there's that. Yeah, you didn't play last night.
I did not. I wasn't
Yeah.
feeling it. And you know what? I've been looking at the numbers. My Friday night gaming live stream. I don't know if I've only been doing it like 3 4 weeks, but nobody shows up for it. Like nobody. So I'm like, why? Why am I even wasting my time? And I mean, I'm enjoying it. Don't get me wrong. I like to play and I like
Yeah.
to talk with you, but I don't know. I can play without being live on there, you know. So
Yeah, that's true too.
anyway, let's move right along. Let's get to the meat and potatoes.
The Jews.
Red heifer goes moo. So I made a video earlier this week. If you're a subscriber to my channel and you watch my videos regularly, I was talking about the red heifer and the prophecy, the engineered prophecy that some Orthodox Jews are engaging in, where I guess they bought 3 red heifers from some ranch in Texas. So a red heifer, these things are totally red, like their fur, their hair, whatever you want to call it, their pelt, is all red. There's no white on it. There's no black on it. There's no other colors. It's just red from head to toe. They've been brought to Israel and they're being held somewhere in order to fulfill a prophecy. The prophecy being that a red heifer must be um, must be sacrificed, like burnt offering, uh, within a certain time. Once that happens, and they construct another temple, then that will bring the Messiah, apparently.
Hmm.
Uh, it's because as far as spectating goes, MMOs are boring to watch. Yeah, okay. I'm not gonna deny that. You're probably right. Um, I mean, they're good if you like MMOs, and they're good if you team. But I don't really team a lot. I do a lot of solo. Excuse me. Sorry for the yawn. Um, but uh, but yeah. Any thoughts on that? Now, apparently, also this guy, this I mentioned in the video, this guy he's not a rabbi, he's a rebbe, which whatever the hell that is. It's spelled slightly different. It's Rebbae, I believe, or Abbae. He was very influential. He's kind of like a Klaus Schwab, George Soros kind of guy in the Orthodox Jewish channels, and he's been maneuvering Benjamin Netanyahu for years, and eventually he basically pushed him to become the leader of Israel. Is he president or prime minister? I don't know, but BB is he?
Prime
What's his
Minister, I
actual title? Prime minister. Okay.
think. Yeah,
So
they have.
basically, and so Bibi has been this guy, this Rebbe. He's the one who is responsible for procuring those red heifers and bringing them to Israel. Now, now this story, this is from what I learned from the Redacted live stream slash podcast. If you do you watch Redacted at all?
No,
You should. It's a good
another
live
one
stream.
you keep. I should
Yeah,
watch. Yeah.
yeah, it's worth watching. Um, I think they're a little too pro Russia, but they say no, they're just anti-war. Anyway, they shit on the America quite a bit. They shit on the America, they shit on the Israel quite a bit. So, but that's okay. They're allowed. Um,
For
anyway,
now.
so what they're saying is that this guy, they were saying that the attacks on October 7th in Israel were in response to this action being taken by some Orthodox Jews to procure these red heifers and bring them to Jerusalem because the while the Muslims might not necessarily believe the prophecy, they do believe that the Jews believe the prophecy, and that they're going to try and bring about end times, and that means that they're going to destroy the Dome of the Rock, which I guess was originally in Jewish hands, and uh, and then became uh, controlled by the Muslims, and has been with them ever since. But apparently, it's a very sacred site to both groups. So tell me where I'm wrong, because I'm sure I got a bit of that wrong.
No, I mean, look, Mossad, Hamas, Israel, Palestine. Like, come on, man. Can you please share that? Mossad,
Yeah,
Hamas, Israel, Palestine. Join us, brother.
there is a third option. The crusade. A new crusade, huh?
just,
Yeah,
just, okay, just a message to the Jews and the Muslims. All right, Israel is the Holy Land because Jesus was born in it. Okay, good.
but wasn't it holy? Wasn't it holy before Jesus was there? Jerusalem's always been a very sacred place. Is it not? Like long before Jesus.
Eh,
Yeah, I guess it depends on your persuasion. That's okay. Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to see the end times brought about. Here's the thing that I'm drawing upon. Okay, so as an atheist, quasi-atheist, I'm an atheist. Ostensibly an atheist, culturally a Christian. How about that? I'm a Christian atheist. Um, there have been a lot of instances where prophecies were brought about because people knew there were prophecies and said, we got to bring these about. So, for instance, I talked about Jesus coming into, uh, I want to say, was it Judea or, yeah, I think it was Judea. He rode into the city on a mule because the prophecy foretold that the Messiah would ride into the city on a mule. So he actually they stopped their thing and they found a mule so they could enter the city on a mule. This was the whole thing, right? So in order to fulfill the prophecy that they knew of beforehand, they took steps to make sure that it happened in that way. So
sure. Okay. You were a fan of the TV show Supernatural, right?
Oh yeah,
66 seals. There is a prophecy,
yeah,
but each of the seals must be broken.
right.
Right. So, yeah, just because it's constructed doesn't mean it
It's
isn't.
not. No, no, I get it, but
Yeah.
like when I think of prophecies, when I think about like the prophecies of Nostradamus, for instance, now I know he was full of shit, but when I think about prophecies, I think about something is going to pass, and that will mark the beginning of something else coming to pass, right? Or that will mark the course of events that are going to go a certain way. Now, to me, they've always seemed to be a little bit more, they'd be more credible, I guess, if these things that came to pass were of a cosmic nature that nobody had any control over. Like there's a red moon on the fourth day of the month in, autumn or whatever, right? So if that happens, like I'm just using that as an example,
Sure, sure.
right? And then that is supposed to lead to something else happening, and then that thing happens. Then the prophecy seems, oh, okay, so this is cosmically ordained. But when people are actually taking steps to make sure that certain things are coming to pass, then it just seems like, hey, we got this idea for what we want to do, and we got to do it in a certain way in order for it to be biblically relevant, in order for it to
Okay.
match our holy books, right?
In,
So,
in in some ways, you are right because some of them are silly. Like it is prophesied that the Messiah will ride into town on an ass.
mhm.
Okay, so anyone can just hop on a donkey and ride into town and go, "I'm the Messiah now." Right. But even this one of the red heifer,
Yeah,
they're looking for a pure red heifer. It doesn't matter if they're breeding it or it gets bred randomly because you still need to actually get this red heifer, which is
right,
sort
and
of like
sacrifice
that.
it, and sacrifice it.
Sure.
I guess for the people, the consternation they felt by the Muslims is that as opposed to the end times being brought about because of um, the sin of man or other things going on that lead to it, here's a group of people who are actively trying to bring about the end times, right? The coming of the Messiah. And then apparently the Antichrist is going to set foot or touch or break something in the new temple, and that's going to bring about the end times. Whoever the Antichrist might be. Everybody's going to say it's Trump.
So again, the Christian tradition, the word is apocalypse, right?
Right.
But apocalypse means revelation, not end of time.
Right, but you
It's not
read
like
some of this. You read the shit in Revelations, and it sounds pretty fucking final, doesn't it?
it could be rough, sure, but it's not Ragnarok.
No,
It's not like Warhammer where the Chaos Gods are inevitable, right? Like
wait.
that's
Doesn't
that's not.
apocalypse? Doesn't apocalypse really mean fire?
No, it means like revelation to be revealed. Yeah,
I'm gonna look at because I'm sure it has some element of fire associated with it.
are you thinking of Armageddon? Armageddon, I think, is the word for our actual end times. Apocalypse doesn't necessarily imply.
Apocalypse definition: apocalypse is a word that means the end of the world or something so destructive it seems like the world is ended in the like the event of a major earthquake. The apocalypse is the total destruction of the world as prophesied in the biblical book of Revelation. Apocalypse can be used to describe utter destruction caused by war or natural disaster, nuclear
What's the
bomb
root
attack.
of the word? It's Greek, isn't it?
Let us
Ajax helps
see.
out.
Um, Apocalypse has the same or almost the same meaning as aperture, adventure, prolapse, and disaster. Um, see if there's some etymology. Calamity, cataclysm, catastrophe, disaster,
Really?
tragedy. Yeah. Um, Armageddon may be the one that I'm thinking is associated with fire. Let me look it up real quick.
Because yeah, I was always under the impression that Armageddon was the word that's more like Ragnarok, where yeah, the dark gods are going to win and
Well,
existence
okay,
will
so
cease.
Armageddon is, according to vocabulary.com, is like a conflict. So Armageddon means like the final battle. between heaven and hell or goodness and evil. Anyway, be that as it may, regardless, I don't want to see it happen. I've got an airsoft event coming up in December. Apparently, this is going to happen sometime in April. By the end of April, people are talking about there's going to be the sacrifice of this red heifer. And then when that happens, now here's what people are thinking. Some of the people in the know are thinking. If
Wait,
that
hold that
were to
thought a second.
pass,
Hold that
go
thought a
ahead.
second, because
Yeah.
Ajax wants to help. Sorry, Ajax. We were asking if apocalypse is of Greek origin and what the root word, if it is Greek, actually means.
There's a couple of comments here. Costin says Armageddon is a reference to the mountain Megiddo, which will play a part. Okay. Uh, sorry, working in the shop. What was the question? Okay, he'll answer.
What
Excessive.
was the question? That was the question. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody knew that. No, the idea is apparently this is going to happen sometime by end of April. Maybe I have no idea. My thought is that, and what I've been hearing is that if this does happen, like, so suppose the temple, the Dome of the Rock gets destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, apparently that is going to be sort of like the ringing of the bell for every Muslim around the world to wage war, basically intifada at that point. It won't just be the fanatics. It'll be every Muslim.
Yeah.
That will be their call to intifada. If the Dome of the Rock gets destroyed. Because, and here's the thing, if it does get destroyed, here's my prediction. I think I mentioned this in the video. So an errant rocket from Hamas gets deflected by the Iron Dome, and a piece of shrapnel or a piece of the rocket lands on the dome of the mount and damages it. It damages to the point where it's gonna take a lot of money to repair. And so the Jews who are in control of that area of Jerusalem will say, you know
Just
what,
demolish.
let's just tear it down. We'll rebuild it somewhere else, but here we're going to build another Jewish temple, right? Yeah,
It
and
won't
then
help.
that's what's yes, Greek means to uncover or great revealment. Okay.
See, I told. Yeah, yeah.
That's
The
probably where
the
aperture. That's
actual
probably
root.
where aperture comes
Yeah.
in, right? Aperture meaning an opening, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So there's multiple interpretations of the word, but the one that everybody sort of thinks of is like apocalypse, end of the world. You know,
Yeah.
big blue and
Like.
purple guy in X-Men who fucking destroyed all the X-Men. Yeah.
Well, then look up the word literally in the dictionary now, and it'll say slang figuratively.
Yes, I know. I know. It's so stupid. Well, that's the thing, right? Like, didn't Rachel Maddow get in trouble for like using the word? She got sued because she said something around literally. He's literally a Russian asset. She's talking about Trump being literally a Russian asset,
Yeah.
and so they said, "Look, this is defamation. You're calling him a foreign, a foreign agent kind of thing, right? And that has an impact on his ability to run the country. Um,
My
the
head
adverb literally means
literally.
actually, and we use it when we want others to know we're serious, not exaggerating or being metaphorical. Yeah, this is vocabulary.com. This isn't Merriam-Webster, which is
To slang
yeah.
figuratively. My head literally exploded.
Yeah, literally, huh? Not figuratively. Yeah. Um. So yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen. I hope it doesn't. What do you think? If the end times comes, if the apocalypse occurs, if the Jews go crazy and the Muslims go crazy, what are good Christians like yourself gonna do?
We're, we're, we're going to exercise the third option.
You put a
We
put
we
a
won't
you're gonna put on
we
a
won't have any
helmet.
choice. We
You're gonna
won't
put
have
on a
any.
helmet. So would you go and fight in Israel?
No,
No.
no. But like, if all of this goes crazy, don't think that any of these groups will stop at one place and versus each other.
Oh no, absolutely, yeah.
They'll just attack everybody,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And then you'll have entire swarms of people who are neither Muslim nor Jewish having no choice but to defend themselves,
Well,
right? With
current
extreme prejudice.
Currently, my firearms are locked in my safe, but I am closely watching what's going on. And as things progress in the Middle East or in Russia or wherever, I'm going to make at one point make the decision to take them out of the safe and keep them at hand for the purposes of protecting the household. And I know that's a violation of the law. I know that, if the RCMP are watching, then that's going to put me in in a precarious situation with them. But I'm talking about future events unraveling or society unraveling. Yeah, that's I'm not going to keep them in the safe. That doesn't make any sense. You know, it's like I got to get out of town because there's a volcano erupting, and I don't want to use the car because that's just going to add to the smoke. No, I'm going to use the car to get out of fucking town. Anyway, shall we move on, sir?
I mean,
Unless there's something else you want to go with the red heifer. What do you think of the red heifer?
I I think it's a good excuse for them to continue doing whatever it is, whatever the fuck it is they're doing.
Right.
But also, it's too little, too late. It's not going to happen.
Well, and here's the thing, like, do you believe the idea that Benjamin Netanyahu has been maneuvered into this position for the express purpose of realizing this prophecy?
Sure, why not?
I guess it's possible.
Yeah. I mean,
You know,
it's just this whole thing about like, oh, this will bring the Messiah. The Messiah came and you missed it.
so of course they don't
Like,
believe that, right?
right, but they're wrong.
Yeah. Well,
That's the point. Messiah been here.
you just don't believe it. Speaking of which, have you been following what's going on with Daily Wire, Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, and all that sort of shit?
Not properly following, but I've heard, yeah,
Yeah,
they
Ben's
made some
being a
comments
total
and like,
like I didn't realize how much of a schmuck, to use their own nomenclature, Ben
me,
Shapiro has been over the last little bit. Like, I guess when there was a little bit of like butting of like, first off, he calls her out at some event where he probably doesn't think that he's on camera, but he's up on stage in front of a microphone. So he should assume that somebody's recording it, and he calls her despicable. Says that her what she's been saying is despicable, and all she's basically been doing is questioning: should we get involved? Should the United States get involved in this? Don't we already fund Israel enough, kind of thing, right? Um, and then I guess he called her out for quoting the Bible, and he basically said, "Hey, if you don't want to work here anymore, you can leave anytime." I'm like, what does quoting the Bible have to do with working at the Daily Wire? It's like apparently there's something coming out now by the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, which is basically
wait,
defend the
can I
Jews.
just can I
Yeah,
just
go
say
ahead.
it?
Yeah,
Christ is king.
how dare you? That's anti-Semitic. Um, Apparently, saying things like Christ is King, quoting Scripture, talking about the divinity of Jesus is anti-Semitic because the Jews don't believe it. Well, that's too fucking bad. Neither do the Muslims. But I don't believe that Muhammad rose to heaven on a frickin' winged horse either. I do, however, believe that he fucked a little girl. Um.
He
Anyway,
says so proudly.
yeah, it's okay. I'm married to her. What the hell? Who cares if she's 8? Anyway.
She was 9. Okay.
Oh, by mistake. Cut my head off over a year. Like anyway. Um. Yeah. So I would not be surprised if there was some sort of uh, plan to put things in motion over there by a secret cabal of people who are hell bent on realizing it. Now, as far as Candace Owens goes, I think I'm a team Candace, quite frankly. I like Candace Owens. I think she's pretty clever. I think she's doing good work. I don't mind Ben Shapiro's stuff, but I don't always agree with him for sure. And he can be annoying. You listen to his voice, man. You want to punch him sometimes. But he had I guess they were having like a behind the scenes thing at the Daily Wire. So they do this after sort of like it's for the Daily Wire Plus subscribers, where it's just Shapiro, Michael Knowles, Matt Walsh, Jeremy Boring, Andrew Klavan. They're all just sitting there smoking cigars and talking about shit, right? And I guess they kind of held Matt Walsh. They kind of like pushed on Matt Walsh because he said, "Look, it's not anti-Semitic to say that maybe the United States shouldn't be sending money or supporting Israel, or it's that patriotism isn't supporting Israel. Like it's not unpatriotic to say I support the United States first and not Israel." And then Jeremy Boring and Ben Shapiro were both saying, "No, no, like if you don't support Israel, I'm paraphrasing. You're essentially not patriotic because they're our ally and they're a democracy and yada 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 and all this shit, right?"
Just ask the
So
crew of the USS Liberty
yeah, there you go.
what an ally they are.
That's right.
Yeah.
Greater Ajax says Aisha was 6 when they married, 9 when the deed was done. Yeah, that's what I hear. 6 when they married, and then yeah, consummated when she was 9. Did you hear the Babylon B type of apologia that came out about well, if you measure it by full moons, she was much much older or something like that. Like she was born on such and such a type of moon or whatever. So in reality, when she's 9, it never really means she was like 27, not 9. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
like
yeah, there
pirates
you go.
and dance,
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
right? That you'd be free on your 21st year? No, no, no. You were born on the leap year, and you'll be free on your 21st birthday.
That's right. Yes, WR successfully awesome for a Canadian. Yeah, Cost is pretty cool. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Cost's a pretty cool guy. Should get him on the stream sometime. He's been on the stream before.
He has,
Uh,
yeah. It's that hat
uh,
and that sideways profile pic.
that's right.
It's fucking styling.
It really is. Hey, you know what I want to move on to?
What's that?
This was gonna be the slate. Maryland Bridge is falling down, falling down.
Oh,
The
I
the
went with
Francis,
BMO Bridges.
what's that?
I went with BMO Bridges. BMO Bridges falling down. Because BMO was Baltimore before it was Bank of Montreal. They
Was it
stole it.
really?
Yeah.
BMO, Baltimore, Maryland?
No, Baltimore and thick, thick accent of like the inner city.
Yeah.
Baltimore became BMO.
No shit, eh? I didn't know that. Yeah, no, I was
You
London
gotta watch
bridges, right?
Liar, man. At least the first season.
Baltimore. It should be Baltimore because London bridges. London's a city. Baltimore's a city. It should be Baltimore bridges falling down. Um. So, unless you've been living on a rock, you know this ship called the Dali. Uh, Lights went out, went off course, and it slammed into a piling that took out a bridge that basically blocked off the entire port of Baltimore, whatever that port is. I can't remember what they call that port, but
But it's like the 19th busiest port in the United States or something.
it's a major
Yeah.
seaport for the East Coast. Major, like it's one of the biggest in the East Coast. Um, and to me, my default position is this was an intentional act. By whom, I'm not sure. I'm inclined to think it was probably either Russia or China. But
There, there are some claims that it was hacked, right? I don't know how much evidence there is for that, right? That it was like a cyber attack on the ship.
that's my thought. That makes the most sense. It makes more sense to me that that's the case than, oops, the power just went out and it happened to veer off course and exactly hit a piling. And then the power just magically came on right before it hit. Too late to change course, like I don't buy it. It
The
makes
power
no
went
sense
off
to me.
again, though.
Yeah,
It's tried to kick up and
yeah,
then failed again.
yeah.
But how it hucked a hard right there. I mean, there could be a number of reasons. I'm under. Okay. Also, that ship has previously crashed before.
Right. Now the crash it had before was it Portugal or something like that? It hit as it was leaving a pier. It it hit a pier, like one of the big rubber bumpers on the pier. So there was no damage to the ship and there was no damage to the construction.
Because
But
No, it
Yes.
was actually a stone pier that they had built out on a rock that jutted out there. That's why it survived.
Yeah.
There,
Okay.
because you're not going to break the world, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but that's the thing is, if you look, if it was leaving, what you're seeing is the ass end of that boat scraping up onto the thing,
Right.
and
Right.
it's hucking a hard right out of nowhere.
Right.
So there was quite possibly some unfixed malfunction that just happened again. So if there's something wrong with the mechanics, right?
Mm.
That you put no input into this machine, the rudder just falls hard to the right, and that's it. It just starts turning right on a dime as hard as it can.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like if your alignment is off on your car and you let go of the wheel and it just turns left.
Starts to veer. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So maybe there's something like that because this is also it's not a new ship. It's old.
Yeah.
There's some weird claims to this is what DEI does when nobody's qualified to actually maintain the machines, which is also possible,
Yeah. I mean,
right?
there could be a multitude of factors. I'm just inclined to think that given the
Or neglect.
current,
Neglect.
given the current state of the world, given the current uh, animosity between nations going on, the fact that there's conflict going on in Europe with Russia and Ukraine, and the United States and NATO nations are all in on it. The fact that there's a cat, what the hell? My cat's biting me because he's a dick. The fact that there is sort of this waning of the liberal democracy and the rise of BRICS nations as far as uh, economic systems go or economic powers go, uh, leads one to believe that this could very well easily. Now, you're right. Is there evidence? No, there's not necessarily evidence. But then I don't see a lot of what's going on with the investigation. Right? This should be kind of big news, but it kind of just sort of fell off the radar.
There's there's a lot of circumstantial evidence, right? If you're a cool conspiracy theorist like I am, that yeah, I can
I prefer the
definitely
term
believe you.
conspiracy analyst. Thanks,
Sure,
Jeezy, for popping in.
conspiracy analyst. Uh, I want to believe you, I do, but I'm also not just going to jump out and blindly believe it immediately. I'm very open to it, but I'd like to see more evidence because look, here's the circumstantial evidence. How many different food processing plants have suddenly caught fire uh, in Western nations over the past 2-3 years,
Oh,
disrupting food
hundreds,
supplies?
hundreds,
Right?
absolutely
Yeah,
hundreds.
right. Ukraine is a breadbasket of Europe and a lot of the world, and that's gone to shit. And
Yep.
now, yeah, why don't we just cut off the support and continue money printer go burr? Food is going to be impossible to purchase. You're going to have to eat the bugs.
Yep.
So yeah, like I mean, if it's just one more small piece of a great big puzzle, I can see how it fits. I just, it's the right color, but I don't have any pieces to actually connect it to the rest of the puzzle directly. It just
No,
looks
I
like it
agree.
can fit in this big blank spot
You're right. There's
for sure.
nothing definitive, but my point is, I guess, given the current state of things and given the capability of foreign nations to hack things like, you know, steer by wire boats. I know it was an older boat, but I'm sure it had the system by which it sent signals to the rudders via electronics, and I'm sure it had computers on board. Therefore, it can be steered by wire, right? Um, I'm inclined to think that uh, that's the more likely explanation. Whether or not it's true, I need to see evidence, right, to make a conclusion one way or the other. I'm saying I'm inclined to think that that's the case.
Mm. Yeah,
That's just me.
yeah. I'm
We got
very
a
open
message
to it.
from the next 6 minutes. Buenos dias, Craig y Irving y los amigos Ajax, Costin y Pox. ¿Cómo estás, hermanos? Doing pretty good
Muy
tonight. Thank
bien,
you.
Stace. ¿Y tú?
Yeah. Bueno. Muy bueno.
Uh, so I actually said bueno in response to "Cómo estás?" and
Yeah.
the least educated people in the world laughed at me because they said "How are you?" and I said "Good" instead of "Well."
Shouldn't you say good? Well, you
Bueno
should
is
say
good.
well.
Bien
Yeah.
as well, right?
Bien.
And if you
Right.
say "I'm good" in English,
Yeah, but
no,
how many times do you say how you doing and people go I'm good? That's just, I know it should say I'm well. You should say I'm well, but most people say I'm good.
Yeah, and it's wrong. And we accept that wrongness because it happens a lot.
Well,
But the least educated people in the world laughed at me when I said bueno.
well. Um, Grammatically wrong? Sure. Practically wrong? No. Practically it's right because most people say good when you say how are you. That's just me.
For some reason, this argument always reminds me of, I think it's the very last episode of that TV show, Boy Meets World.
Hmm.
You remember that show? He actually lives next door to the principal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all.
The official story is unbelievable. A boat full of Indian guys having an unsolvable tech problem. Yeah,
But you remember Boy Meets World, right?
I do. Yeah.
I can't remember the character's name, but the boy who meets the world, and he lives next door to his principal at the school or whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so
And Topanga is his girlfriend and they eventually get married. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, hot,
Yeah,
yeah,
Topanga was cute. Yeah. Is
Danielle Fischel, yeah,
that her name?
gorgeous.
Armageddon was a great movie, says Squid.
Squid,
I prefer
uh,
Deep Impact, but hey, teach his own.
but yeah, so they're talking after graduation, right? And the principal says to him, "Okay, now go out there and do good." And he says, "Don't you mean do well, Mr. Sweeney?" He goes, "No, I mean do good."
As in do good work.
Yeah, and that's the difference.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
is a difference. Words have meaning.
I get it. I get it. They do have meaning. I'm saying that language also changes, right? I was watching this. You ever see? There's a YouTuber called does tasting history. Basically, he goes and looks at old recipes from like the Middle Ages and shit, and he
Hmm.
tries to reproduce them using modern methods and stuff. And he's talking about that um, the term eggs and aeons or ayor were basically interchangeable through most of Europe, right? But in some pockets they use one over the other. And so the reason the word eggs became the word that we use to describe, you know, chicken butt food. Um, the reason we use that is merely because a guy who was like a chronicler of like foodstuffs and different types of what the yields were and what the price of eggs were and stuff in different regions throughout Europe. He decided one day, fuck it, we're using eggs as opposed to eors or aeos or aeons, and so that's why we call them eggs. And I was thinking about there was a show that was done by a guy named I want to say it's Graham Campbell. I don't know, some British dude. He used to do a thing called "The Day the Universe Changed," right? And then he did another one called Connections. But in Day the Universe Changed, he basically looked at some sort of like obscure development in technology and how it completely upended the development of human civilization. It would be something really, really minor and small, right? But
Hmm.
how that one development changed everything. And then I'm thinking, so if the dude had just decided he's going to start using eons or aeons or whatever it is, or aors instead of eggs, then we'd all be saying something completely different. And then somewhere in the multiverse, there is a planet Earth where that occurred, where everything is exactly the same except for how they refer to the word eggs.
Sure.
I love eggs with hash browns, says six. I eat 3 eggs and a quarter cup of egg whites every day and a piece of whole grain toast for breakfast every day. I'm getting kind of sick of it, but still like eggs. They're good for you.
I am of the opinion that as the average person becomes more educated, like for example, basically everyone can read in a Western
Mm-hmm.
country.
Mm-hmm.
Some people better than others. I understand that. But things, especially language, should become more codified. It does not prevent the evolution of language, but it should definitely prevent the evolution of language built on mistakes.
Egg multiverse. How many brownies did Craig eat after tonight? I did not eat brownies. I had a single gummy, and it's just
If
kicking
you
in
think
now. Thank you very much.
if you think
It's
the egg
not
multiverse,
kosher. It's delicious. Christ is
right?
king.
Okay. If you
Yeah,
think
but is
the
he
egg
trans?
multiverse,
What's that?
if you think the egg multiverse is a stoner thought, oh, I've got one for you.
There was a
I,
there used to be a character on Saturday Night Live called Father Guido Seducci. You remember Father Guido Seducci?
yeah, a little before my time, but I remember him existing.
Yeah. So he used to come on the Weekend Update periodically, and he would do these little bits, right? And one of them he was talking about how I guess scientists had posited the idea of a multiverse, and he started talking about what it means for for the belief in God, that sort of stuff. But he first goes on this thing about there's a universe where they eat corn on the cob this way instead of this way. Everything's exactly the same except how they eat corn on the cob. I'm like, Jesus Christ. He was funny. Father Guido Sarducci. Oh, he was hilarious. Hey, Six. Sorry, not watching chat that much. Gotta have hash browns with my iced coffee too, since Lent is now over now. I can drink coffee again, and that was a long 40 days, man. Oh yeah,
I
you're.
fucking believe it.
Did you do
Holy
anything for
crap.
Lent? You're a
40
Catholic,
days
aren't you?
without coffee. 40 days without
You
coffee.
went.
I mean, he went 40 days without coffee.
Yeah, I could do that.
I can't do that.
It's not that hard, man. I only have a
I,
single coffee a day. You have like 6 cups by the time it's 10, though, right?
I, well, see, no, here's the other thing is he drinks coffee like I do. I have two coffees, but that totals 1 liter of coffee. Like my
Yeah.
coffees are enormous.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I have a single coffee in the morning, normally after I've had breakfast and after I've actually done work for about an hour. So basically, I start work and then I take care of my reports and then my Fitbit goes off and says, "Hey, get up and move around because otherwise you're lazy." So I get up, I go downstairs, I make a coffee, I pace around the kitchen for a bit, and then I go back upstairs. Um, yeah, I have one coffee. I drink instant coffee with Splenda sweetener.
some instant coffee's not bad, not gonna lie.
It's just simple. That's why I like it. It's just
Cheap.
it's the same as coffee grounds. They just freeze dry it.
And it's cheap.
That's also it. It's shelf stable and it's dirt cheap.
And you can make one at a time too. Like that's
That's why I like it because Melina drinks those fancy coffees with the robots that make your coffee. The ones where you put
yeah,
a little pod in, it's got a barcode, and the robot says, "Ah, this is what you want," and it makes your coffee. Um,
yeah.
I can't get into that. I just boil some water, pour it in a cup. I count Maxwell House as one of my homies. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I drink Maxwell House and Nescafe. Those are the two that I typically go through.
So I have found Giant Tiger house brand coffee
Hmm.
is the best instant coffee I've ever tried.
Giant Tiger House brand coffee.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out. See, when we buy it, it's always like a little jar, and I'm like, I go through it in no time because I'm having a coffee a day, right?
Ah, yeah,
But
that's right. The Maxwell houses are usually what 200 milliliters,
yeah,
and
like a
the
big tub, right? If you go to Costco, it's like
oh
a big tub. You can
the
polish
Giant
stones with.
Tiger thing is like 375, so it's almost twice as big as your usual on the shelf
Okay, that's not so
one.
bad
But
then.
yeah, they're good. It's real good coffee.
Yeah. Now, speaking of Christ being king, is Jesus trans?
What?
Well, I mean, he was an activist. He fought against the powers that be. He fought for the persecuted. Maybe he was trans. Maybe they didn't have hair dye the way we do today, so he just grew it long and wore flowy robes like a woman's nightgown. So maybe he was trans. Just saying. No, I think that there
Is
was
this
an
like
article about that.
I was going to say, is this a thing that's going around the internet that I missed?
Let me see if I can find it. There was an article somebody wrote, some like op-ed piece. Jesus was transgender. Where is it? Yeah, Cambridge Dean defends sermon that claimed Jesus had trans body.
What?
A Sunday sermon by a junior research fellow at the University of Cambridge is drawing backlash for reportedly claiming Jesus Christ has historically been depicted with a trans body. Dr. Michael Banner, a dean of Trinity College, has come to the defense of junior fellow Joshua Heath, according to the Telegraph. Trinity College is a constituent college of the University of Cambridge. Heath reportedly argued during his sermon that historical artistic depictions of Jesus Christ back up his claim. Uh, in Christ's simultaneously masculine and feminine body in these works, if the body of Christ, as these works suggest, the body of all bodies, then his body is also the trans body, Heath said during his sermon. Okay, so because he represents all of humanity, that includes trans humanity? Anyway,
I
according to
imagine there were
Telegraph.
probably some Renaissance pieces that
Yeah,
made.
whereas like his dick is really small. So they're like, oh, he's
I
got
was gonna say where they probably softened some features to make him a little more androgynous because that would make him look more angelic, the way they were portraying angels at the time, which was to
yeah,
be neither male nor female because they're angels. They don't have male or female. They're just angels. Like if you look how femmy Michael is as he slays Lucifer, right? Like
right.
it's a little
Well,
like oh,
I mean, is he feminine? He's just got long golden locks.
and no, but his face doesn't have strong masculine features, right? He's just
No, true, true,
sort of
true.
really pretty and soft.
Yeah, I think
He
that had to
doesn't.
do with the
Yeah,
art style at the time, though, because it's very seldom you
right.
saw like the Giga Chad jaw. You know what I mean? On anybody,
Sure.
everybody had soft, fucking flabby double chins and like, yeah. Anyway,
But also, no angel in the Bible is described as anthropomorphic,
no,
right? You know, they're the flaming wheel of eyes and stuff.
that's
Like,
right. That's an angel.
yeah,
Yeah,
be not
yeah.
afraid.
Makes you think God was is a great old one, like Cthulhu kind of thing, right? If his angels look like that, what does God look like?
Fisk, Fisk is back. You got a
Plofisk. Hi from Norway. Hello, Plofisk. Welcome back. Thanks for popping in. Watching on Twitch. Appreciate it. I'm seeing a way to make money out of this. Buy my dick bulge muscle Jesus paintings.
Well, here's the other thing. Like, Jesus would have lived a fairly hard working life as an actual carpenter.
Right.
Like so he would have been pretty fucking buff and jacked at the
You would
time.
think so. Yeah.
Also,
He'd probably have like lean muscle.
yeah,
Yeah.
but he was also described often as very tall.
Yeah.
So he stands out in the crowd and fair, right? Like
Right.
blonde hair and blue eyes.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So he would have just been like a like a jacked ZZ Top looking motherfucker.
Maybe he was a Nord. Maybe he was one of the Nordic aliens. Or
So,
there's different types of
oh,
aliens. I remember listening to Art Bell one time, and there was a guy talking about the Milarepa. Do you know what the Milarepa is?
no.
The Milarepa is apparently this spiritual being that inhabits different forms throughout history, and they're always historical figures. So Buddha was a Milarepa, you know, Jesus was a Milarepa, bunch of different characters throughout history. Quetzalcoatl was a Milarepa, and basically this Milarepa is kind of like, remember Captain Universe in Marvel Comics?
Yeah,
He
roughly.
was like the superhero avatar of the Eternity being. So Milarepa is basically that. So this entity inhabits certain people, and through those people, realizes change in the course of human history. That's the idea of the Milarepa. That's what I'm saying. Maybe he's an alien. Maybe Jesus is an alien. He's like one of those Nord aliens. Remember there's just the grays and there's the little purple hairy guys, and then there's the lizard type aliens, and then there's the Nordic aliens. They're tall and blonde and fair skinned and shit.
I'll give you this. It makes more sense than Jesus was trans.
Okay, yeah, so we'll compromise. Jesus wasn't trans, he was an alien.
Yeah.
Jesus was skinny and tall, right? Well, according to the artwork he was, but I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I think the reason
Wait,
he was so skinny was they beat the shit out of him for 3 fucking days and they starved him.
And he says, not buff, Fisk says.
I'll
And
put my
look,
money on Buddha. So if it's going to be Buddha versus Jesus, you think Buddha would take him?
I doubt it. Skinny guys fight till they're burger.
Nah, Norwegians are skinny soy boys.
So look, Jesus was so buff that he carried a 60-kilo cross for
That's right.
miles through the desert with half his back ripped off. That's how buff that motherfucker was.
I'll prove it. If Jesus was buff.
Jeezy says Jesus looked like Hulk Hogan at his prime. Yeah, is that Korean Jesus?
Yeah, it looks like it. It's got some looks like kanji characters there. Could be Korean Jesus. But look at that guy. He looks like he's gonna kick the shit out of you. These nails will hold me, brother. Fuck.
Well, you think along those lines of the lean 205 MMA fighter.
Yes.
Yeah,
Jesus looked like Hulk Hogan at his prime. Yep. But wait, no, because Hulk Hogan was always fucking bald, man. That's why he used to wear that bandana on his head. Because he was like super jacked, but even like when he was in his 30s, 40s, he's like
yeah, he was
bald on
bald.
top.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would still put my money on Buddha. That is my dude. So you're a Buddhist, are you, Plofisk? That's all right. Everybody's got their own predilections towards beings to live their life by. On the day 3, he rose. Doesn't make sense. Jesus wouldn't miss 2 gym days. Yeah, it's true. It's true. I gym it every other day, baby. Every other day.
Well, hey, look, he got his cardio on the Friday, and then on Sunday he rose again and went to the gym. Had
There
to
you
roll
go.
that way, right?
Yeah, rolling the rock was cardio. It's like sled pushing. You ever push the sled at the gym?
I don't have a sled. I have Planet Fitness.
They don't have a sled?
No, they don't have benches or power racks.
That's gay. They should have sleds. Sleds are because like I haven't done it yet, but there's a trainer at my gym who if his clients say, "Hey, I don't really want to do leg exercises today. Like, can we just like I don't really want to do these exercises, all these different exercises. Can't we do something simple?" Say, "Sure." Sled. And he puts him on the fucking sled for 30 minutes.
And 2 minutes in, they're like, "Can we do the exercises and
Yeah,
stuff?"
can I go
No,
do
we're
fucking
doing the sled.
extensions, please? Plophus says, no, I don't believe in any god, to be honest. Well, that's good because Buddha wasn't a god; he was a dude. Too many books in collage made me stop believing. I think it means college.
I'm gonna let that slide because English is not your first language.
All right, bear with me for a moment. My cat is being aggravating. I have to, I have to feed him his nibbles.
Oh, so
So,
put on the oddities for me, and
oh, you can Irving's oddities. Go ahead, sir. You all can listen to Irving and look at my junk.
alternate universes. All right, you thought the egg universe was weird? Okay, check this one out.
Okay.
I imagine an alternate universe in which everything is identical to this one, except we don't have taste buds on our tongues. We have taste buds on our foreheads. So now you have to picture like a fancy restaurant with like the upscale people in their fucking fine evening wear and all this shit, some kind of fundraiser or whatever, people in tuxes and gowns, and everyone slicing into the beautifully, wonderfully crafted meal, lifting their fork, rubbing the food across their forehead so they can taste it, and then putting it in their mouth to consume it.
It seems so. It seems like that seems like so many extra steps just to fucking eat some food.
That's where the taste buds are, though. If you want to taste it, you got to stroke it across your forehead.
So if you're in like if you're trying to be a Navy SEAL, you don't even try. You just like fucking put it in your mouth. I don't have time because they eat so quick.
Yeah, well, yeah.
They don't have time to put it in for. Uh, yeah, no, that'd be kind of weird.
Yeah, but
Evolutionary speaking, I don't know why it's there. I don't know why it would be there. That seems really odd. Like if you understand why, like my brother said, why is your sex organs so linked to your digestive system? I'm like, well, because evolutionary speaking, it makes sense. It doesn't though, because it's like unsanitary. And it's my brother. I'm mocking my brother. Um, there is a theory in quantum physics like that. It's called multiple world theory. Yeah, the multiverse, right? I was introduced to it in comic books. So he's like, why wouldn't we like develop our sex organs like on our hands or whatever? I'm like, well, because one, they'd be exposed, and you're constantly using your hands for everything. So everything you're doing would be charged with sex, would be sexually charged. Not only that, your hands are very easily injured because you're using them to do things with tools or whatever, right? And I'm like, no, it makes sense because you think about there's only two routes by which we can manually put things into our bodies and things come out of our bodies, and that's through our digestive tract. So it makes a sense if we have to deposit gamete into a woman's uterus, vagina, and then uterus, then we've got to use some system that allows it. What are we going to sneeze? Going to sneeze come into their? That might be a way of doing it, like spores.
oh, like the way fish spawn, right?
Yeah, they just
She
yeah,
lays
but
her egg. You go. Bleh.
yeah, but the thing is, there's a medium in which that happens, right? That couldn't happen in the air. Okay, I grew up Christian. Tell me why I should believe in God. My biggest problem is there are so many gods in different religions. How can we know that Christianity is the right one and not Islam? Go ahead, Irving. You take that one.
I mean, okay. And this is the thing I'm also saying to you, Craig. Look,
Hmm.
if you look for yourself, don't just listen to dogma or apologetics. Just pick up John and read it. Uh, if you just go look for yourself, you may discover that you already have what you need. Seek and ye shall find.
Right.
There you go. Like
Um,
I'm not going to take it upon myself to convince you that Christ is king.
Here's the thing. Here's my thoughts. Pro Fisk. I am also atheist, although I mentioned earlier in the chat in the stream, I'm what you call a Christian atheist, meaning I was raised culturally as a Christian. We celebrated Christmas and all the Christian holidays. We went to church on very special days. I don't practice currently any religious tradition. I do hold the tenets of Christianity and the New Testament as being of value, and I live my life as though I'm a believer, whether I'm a believer or not. I don't kill, I don't steal, I don't cheat on my taxes as much as I want to. Um, I don't covet my neighbor's wife or ass or donkey or cart or whatever. Uh, so I live with the tenets of Christianity, even if I don't ascribe any supernatural um, source for them. But I've been watching a lot of Dawkins talk to people about his upcoming book and some of the ideas presented in it. Have you heard about his upcoming book?
No.
It's called "We Who Wrestle God."
Wait, Dawkins or Peterson?
Not Dawkins, Peterson. I used to be a big Dawkins guy. Anyway, if there's one guy who's going to do it, I think Peterson's the guy who's going to do it. Who's going to bridge the gap between the secular humanists, the materialists, and the people who believe in the supernatural and metaphysics. For the longest time, I was a materialist. I ate up everything that Sam Harris would put out there. I read books by Hitchens and Dawkins, and I tried reading Dennett, but he's really dry. Sam Harris, all those guys. Now here's the thing: at the time, I was atheist. I still consider myself atheist. So but I'm saying it in the past tense. At that time, my reason for wanting to read these guys is I wanted to know how to own the religious, right? I wanted to get in debates with people who were religious or Christian or whatever, and I'd be able to say, here's why you're wrong. That was the purpose of it. I'm starting to understand now at this point that there's more to reality than the material, that there are things outside of the material world that I don't think you can quantify using your five senses and in your brain. I think it's one of these things where there's a metaphysics to reality. There are things to reality that we don't understand that can never be measured in a scientific sense. And here's the thing where I think the problem with the religious minded people and the materialist minded people are, to a person who's a Christian, they'll say all you have to do is open your heart to Jesus. All you have to do is, accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, that kind of stuff, right? I don't think it's that simple any more than I think it's so simple as peeling back the layers of reality using instrumentation and observation to try and figure out how the universe works. It's not that simple. Even if you could do it, I don't think it's that simple. I think it's far more mysterious than could be explained by uh, a carpenter who died on a Friday and rose again on a Sunday, or by accelerating particles around a football field really, really fast. There's it it transcends both points of view. Is what I'm saying. The universe is that mysterious, and that mystery you could call God, or you could just call it the universe, or you could call it, I don't know what to call it. You could say I don't know what it is. It's fucking weird. That's it. That's my point of view. That's my perspective. It's bigger than both.
Mm, there's a weird thing here.
I leave for 2 minutes to grab some headliner material from the basement, and I come back to spooge, sneezing, procreation. What the fuck? Profis says, if there is a God, that means that one religion is right and all other religions are wrong and going to hell, and all believers are so certain of their God. But Christians can be as wrong as any other religion in my mind. Sure, yeah. But my point is, everybody's wrong. And I don't know that there is such a thing as hell in the traditional Dante's Inferno sense, where people's souls are punished for eternity. I don't think it's like that. As far as an afterlife goes, I have no idea if there's one. My inclination is that there isn't, but I don't know. I only believe in two things: death and taxes. See, but can you prove it? Benadryl is my birth control. LOL. Anything on what I just said? Am I too high to be comprehensible?
No. You're doing great, and Fisk has a interesting kind of point there, but I would say that yeah, no, like okay, so I'm a Christian, and I'm gonna tell Craig, even if he doesn't say Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, Christ is King,
Hmm.
Jesus doesn't care whether or not you do, because I've said this before, because Craig has the law within him and is already saved, right? I can be a terrible person. I have nasty potential to be horrible, and I really need Jesus to help me with this, right?
We
And,
all have that.
and there are times that I recognize that you know what I can't forgive some people and some things. I can't do it. I need, but it's okay. It's not okay, but Jesus is doing it for me, right?
Mm.
That's the burden that Jesus takes, you know. And are all other religions going to hell? No, that's not no, right? Like you're not going to hell because you don't believe in Jesus. It's because you don't follow the truth of life and the way. You're going to make your own hell by accident, right? That's really yes, Kitty. Show us your
You
butthole.
mind? Do you mind?
Not
Hey,
at all.
Get down, doofus. Now the dog's gonna start chasing him. Anyway, yeah, no, no. My point is that like the prescription of you must behave in a certain way. Like I shouldn't be glib with this. There is a rule to follow, and it's written down by men, dictated to them by God, and you have to follow it, or you're going to be you're going to be damned. The That's, I guess, the literal word, right? But I guess the understanding, the practical understanding, is that the only way to get to heaven is to repent of your sins and uh, pray for Jesus Christ to enter your heart and become your Lord and Savior. Um, the I don't think that either one of these things is exactly true. But then again, I can't possibly know, right? And this is why I consider myself an atheist. I can't know. There's no way for me to know. I could make a guess, I could choose one, but I think that's kind of,
Hmm.
it's not something like choosing a car, right? Like I like the red one. It's something that, if you're going to decide how you're going to view the universe and how it works and its underlying purpose and how it began and all that sort of stuff, you need to be a little bit more informed on it. And I just don't know that there's anybody can be informed enough to make that decision. I think the best bet for anybody is to keep an open mind and be prepared to accept miracles to come into their life, however you want to describe those miracles.
I can address what you're saying and also Fisk's drop here, right? About there is no proof. Um,
Imagine people not being bent out of shape when you tell them they are responsible for their own salvation. Yeah. The truth always upsets some apple carts. Yes, for sure. When I was little, I thought people were saying Monday, Thursday when they say Monday, Thursday, Monday, Thursday. I don't get
I
it.
don't, I don't know. I don't get the reference.
I like religion. It gives people purpose and hope, but I don't like it as an absolute thing that should give you your life to. There is no proof. Sure, but I think that's a caricature of Christians. I don't believe that there's a lot of Christians who are like that. I think there are Christians who genuinely believe it and use it as a guidepost or as
Hmm.
a philosophy, I guess, in how they deal with other people and how they approach life. It's not a
I
matter of
think
like I have to follow the tenet of these. It's like they have to accept a certain set of principles in order to live, just like everybody else does. But they've got with them a narrative, a story that's laid out for them to be an example, right, in the story of Christ. So,
see. And I'm sort of from the same boat as Fisk, where like I was Orthodox on one side, Catholic on the other. I went to Catholic school. I'm the guy that asks all the questions, and Catholicism and Orthodoxy do a lot of things very, very wrong, right? That in a lot of cases they're very much about the dogma, the institution, the religion, the ritual, and the actual message and way of life is completely secondary and sometimes ignored entirely, right? So when you're asking these questions, people don't have answers because they're telling you just do the ritual, right? Like just do the ritual and shut up. Like they really don't
right,
want,
and,
because
and
they
that
also
that
know.
makes sense because you've got to consider these rituals were created by people who were literate in order to perform and have people perform and participate in who were illiterate. So the ritual was part of the worship. They had to basically learn to do things by rote
Right.
to save their souls because they couldn't possibly comprehend the higher thoughts of it because they're illiterate. So
But there's even still the weird sects of Christianity where like everything is in Jesus Christ's name,
hmm,
right? Like, oh, I really hope you get better in Jesus Christ's name. Okay, sure, fine. But also, oh, I gotta change the tire on the car in Jesus Christ's name. Gonna drop a wicked deuce today in Jesus Christ's name. Every single thing is, it's like that's too much. That's ridiculous. Stop. It's just a bunch of words coming out of your mouth. I get it, because those were all the things that drove me away from Jesus.
Right. Well, this is why it kind of makes me smirk when I hear people say inshallah. Muslims say inshallah,
God
and when
willing.
black people say axe, it kind of makes me smirk because I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, inshallah, or after they say the name Prophet Muhammad, they say like, praise be upon him.
Mm,
They have to say it. Like
yeah.
it's not. They're not even thinking about saying it. It's almost like the Gesundheit. When someone see when you sneeze, you might say bless. When someone sneezes, you might say bless you.
Hmm.
I say Gesundheit,
So do
right?
I.
I don't know why I say Gesundheit. Oh, I know why, because that goes back to my atheist days. Because Gesundheit means good health, right? Bless you is a religious abjuration or entreaty, right? And I'm like, I'm not going to participate in that religious nonsense. So that's why I stopped using bless you and started saying Gesundheit. Um, but
But
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
before we get too far away from it now, it was actually a similar intellectual endeavor to Craig's that ended up leading me back, right? It was doing the reading, looking for more holes, and realizing without a bunch of like Catholic priests and religion teachers and dogma and all this,
Hmm.
oh, it's a little bit cleaner now. It's not cluttered for me. And, learning like historical facts from the time and putting it together with the gospel. Okay, it made a lot more sense.
Right.
And again, that thing of look in your own life, and you may discover that you've always had what you need to find that faith. Yeah, you're not going to have proof, right?
Right.
You're not going to have proof,
Well, that's the definition of faith,
but you're
right?
going to have what you need.
Belief without proof, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, Ricky Gervais is probably the most prominent atheist in the world right now, the most prolific, not
He's
as an
he's very
atheist, as a comedian,
yeah,
right?
because
And
he's outspoken about his lack of faith in his routine. Yeah.
but he's actually, if I'm not mistaken, the most successful comedian of all time in terms of ticket sales, total revenues.
Could be.
He's literally the most successful comedian of all time. Now, when he started on his path for comedy as a career opportunity, right? He
Hmm.
had no proof that he would be the most successful comedian of all time, or even a career comedian who made enough money to do this as a job and retire comfortably. But he did it anyway. And in itself, that is an act of faith. So to say, oh, well, if you have to take it on faith, that's bullshit, is completely wrong. Having faith is not necessarily an unreasonable position. All I'm saying, right?
Right. Plofis says people are stupid though. Religion was used to control people in the old times. It almost feels like some priests use religion to be in better positions in life. Sure,
Sure.
you
Still
know what?
happens
People are
now.
corrupt, but that's the thing. If you're a follower of Christ, you're not supposed to try and live like a priest. The priest is there to help you live like Christ. Now, are there going to be priests who basically take their position of authority over people and over children and sin and use that authority to you know to better their own lives? Absolutely, because they're people. Um, so that's the thing. Like the church, you don't need to be a member of a church to worship, right? You can worship without it. So religion, organized religion, yeah, it's got its problems for sure. But for some people, it's their sense of community. It's their way of uh, getting and hanging out with people of like mind and feeling that they're in a community that cares about them, right? So that's why people nowadays go to church. Back in those days, it was like law. You had to go to church. If you didn't go to church, they thought you were a witch or you worshiped the devil. So uh, he says, I mean, I have read the Bible. The Old and New Testament is so clearly written different, and God is so different in the Old Testament, the Old and the New Testament. So it's clear to me that the Bible is not to be trusted. Well,
May I please?
please go ahead.
You're absolutely right. And Ajax says the ritual is because most followers couldn't read, and I understand
Right.
that, right?
Hmm.
It brings people together, brings community together. but by those same paths, you end up with an sometimes untrustable institution, right?
Hmm.
And yeah, the Bible is not to be trusted. It's a collection of works written by the hands of men. It's it's not that it's not written literally or you can't take certain parts of it literally. It's that it's not to be trusted, but to be studied,
Hmm.
right? It is a source of valuable information if you can take the time to analyze it yourself, not necessarily and open mindedly, right? If you go in looking for the dirt, you're going to find the dirt. You're going to find inconsistencies, right? Because a book from the Old Testament says something different from a book in the New Testament, but that's written by two different people 1,000 years apart, right? Again, the hands of flawed men,
Hmm.
right? And one of the things that I like, I go to this a lot, right? I think the only word to describe me would be like a Johannite Christian,
A
uh,
Jovanite?
Johannite,
Johannite.
as
Not
in
familiar with it.
The Gospel of John. I think
Okay.
if the rest of the Bible disappeared and all you could find was the Gospel of John, you'd be okay. You'd be able to find Jesus. Um, and yeah, if you read John, which I do, and like I keep going back to the very first words of it, and then I rarely get past the second chapter because it's during the first and second chapter that you have people coming up and asking, "Is that him? Is that the Messiah? Is this the Christ? Is this the one that we've been waiting for that?" Right? Not one person responds. Yeah, they all say, "Come and see." Right? I'm not going to tell you this is the Christ. I'm going to tell you, you come and you see. You look and discover. Seek and ye shall find. Right? I'm not going to tell you the answer, but I'm going to tell you it's there for you if you're looking for it.
6 says, I am a New Testament Old Earth Christian, meaning you don't think the Earth was created in 6,000 years or is 6,000 years old. Yeah, I get you. I agree, but with take, we can pick and choose what is the will of God. Maybe we should interpret the words different, but then in my mind, the book is worthless. Well, I think you should look at it as um, it's a narrative written in a way to impart morality upon a people and an idea that the only thing that you need to do to be good or to bring about more decency in the world or to live a better life, whatever you want to look at, or get into heaven, is acknowledge your sins and seek to not do them anymore. Essentially, is what it is. The narrative is you have that power to do it through this one sacrifice that God made in sacrificing his own son and himself all at the same time. This sacrifice was made so that you could um, you could come to the realization that you are sinful or you are flawed or you are you know incomplete and sort yourself out, right? As Jordan Peterson is wont to say, sort yourself out. So that's how I would view it as. It's not something that you can say it has a specific prescription for how to act in any given situation. No, it's a narrative written in a way to allow you to figure out what you need to do to be better. Does that make sense?
Yes. Um,
Imagine following the Old Testament and thinking you're practicing Christianity. It's not different from laws being written today. The words in the Bible are not absolute. It's not the word of God. Why should we follow it?
so
It's not a matter of following it. I said it before. Don't look for a place to have an answer. Keep your mind open and and expect that there might be miracles in your life. That's it.
this
And you don't
this is
have to
all
necessarily and what you ascribe those miracles to doesn't have to necessarily have a religious origin or a supernatural origin. It could just be luck, it could be fate. But the point is that you keep your mind open. You keep an attitude of, look, I don't know shit, and I don't think anybody knows any shit. And I think all we can do is navigate this world and navigate our lives ourselves and try and do as best we can. And if some people need a book to do that, if some people need a community of people, like-minded people in a church to do that, then all the power to them. But um, yeah, you can do it yourself, and I think that's what the message of Jesus is. There's redemption for you. You just have to try and redeem yourself. And you redeem in the narrative. You redeem yourself by accepting Him into your heart.
And this is an interesting thing about the Word of God. It's not the Word of God. It's not the Word of God. You're right. It's not the Word of God because there's a strange interpretation, maybe heretical interpretation that I and some people have. But then why is the book so important? Then it's just some guy writing stuff. I'd like to
Mm.
actually. I'll address that in a second. But the Word of God is not what we want it to be. We want we want the Word of God to be written down in the words of men. How is that even possible? Like
Mm.
that's what? No. The words of
Um,
men give us an hold on. The words of men give us
sorry.
an idea about what the word of God might be. And actually, this is another reason that I like John. John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And then later in chapter 1, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. And this is Jesus, right? So you want the Word of God. That was a person, not a thing that could be written down, right? So, and then why is the book so important? Just some guy writing stuff? Well, you could say the same thing about Chuck Palahniuk, right? Like, I read Fight Club, and it's the weirdest case, one of the few places in book film corollary where the film fixed everything that was wrong with the book. Because Chuck Palahniuk, not the best writer in the world. There is a whole bunch of like filler stuff in every Chuck Palahniuk novel, and you read 30 pages of garbage to come to one beautiful line that only Chuck Palahniuk could write. And it only makes sense in the context of the rest of the book, right? I wanted to put a bullet between the eyes of every panda that wouldn't screw to save its species. Fuck yeah, buddy. Fuck yeah. And you have to read the rest of the book for that to have value. So is it just some guy writing stuff? Yes. And every once in a while, there it is, the gem, right? That you had to sift through all of this to get this on a long enough timeline, the survival rate for everyone drops to zero. Ah,
It's true.
gorgeous.
Um, I would say this: it's just a book that became the meta narrative that undergirds all of Western civilization. It's the mythological substrate of everything we hold of value here in the West, in modern civilization. Sort of,
Yeah,
for the time being. How long that's going to last, I don't know. But the point is that everything that we hold dear, everything that we see as good, uh, is predicated on the mythological substrate of the Christ myth, and he is the meta giant upon which all other giants have have risen and raised up civilization. So
I love the effect Jordan Peterson has had on modern conversation, right? Like he's a human example of Marshall McLuhan's theory. The medium is the message. Jordan Peterson is, in fact, a new medium that has changed the way we discuss these ideas.
yeah,
Mythological substrate. Oh, thank you.
but it's true, right?
Yeah,
Like, because I mean, and he's not the one who was sort of like he may have used that phrase and it's become, he sort of coined it, but I think it's probably based on more Joseph Campbell's stuff, right? Joseph Campbell was basically saying all of human history can be written out uh, as archetypal stories, and every
yeah.
bit of our human experience is part of an archetypal story of redemption, of the hero's journey, all of these things. It's why we don't like such there's so much we don't like about modern media that's written by hacks. It's because they've abandoned the idea of these archetypal stories that resonate with us on a on a deeper level, than the truth. It's truer than the truth. It's truer than
Yeah,
truth. You know what I mean? Like there's a reason why the romantic hero follows a certain path. And the reason is because he must, and the reason is because in order for us to understand the story, we must feel it through him. So, and in the sense of Jordan Peterson, yeah, he uses the term mythological substrate. He's used the term Jesus is the meta giant. He was having a discussion with Matt Dillahunty. You know who Matt Dillahunty is? He's an atheist. He had a podcast for the longest time called The Atheist Experience. I don't know if he still does it. He used to watch it all the time. Anyway, he gets up there and he talks about how human has progressed because of uh, people inventing new things, people looking at new ways of thinking about the world and coming to an understanding about quantum physics and the germ and microbiology and all this sort of stuff. And here we are standing on the shoulders of giants, is what he said, right?
yeah,
And Peterson cuts him off and says, "Yes, and Christ is the meta giant." And when I heard that, I'm like, "Fuck, I get it now." That none of what we have would come to pass if not for an undergirding narrative upon which we ascribe all value in the world, and we do that through the Christ mythos.
yeah. Like,
Um, the book is worthless. It's filled with biases and so on. It's the story of authors take on well,
can I
however
read
you want to
from
view it,
the
man.
next one?
I would probably still be Christian if there was not such a big focus on that
Okay,
book.
I'd like to address this real quick. Okay, it's filled with biases and so on. It's the story of an author's take on multiple authors' takes of Christianity. Okay, well, hold on. Behind me on the shelf here, I've got books. Believe it or not, some of them I've read. There's Aristotle, there's Kant, Hume. Who's the Fear and Trembling guy? Kierkegaard. All right.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Well, I mean, these are all moral philosophers, ethics philosophers,
Yeah,
and they all have very different takes. And basically, because they're biased and have their own takes on morality and ethics, all of philosophy is worthless. Is kind of the same idea, right? There's the reason that there are multiple takes is so that we can analyze them all because each one is a person's and is going to be flawed, and we are sort of bound to continue analyzing it to try and get it better, not necessarily right. Perfect is the enemy of good, but we can make improvements. I
hmm.
would probably still be a Christian if there was not such a big focus on that book. I would probably still be a moral person if there wasn't such a big focus on morality and ethics in philosophy.
I remember being a child and reading about Abraham and Isaac, and it was so fucked up what God made Abraham do. What God does that? Well, I'm not a Christian theologian. I couldn't speak to the. I know that there are answers to that question. Why would God put Abraham through that? I don't know what those are, and I'm not going to deign to try and argue them because it's not something that I'm skilled at. Uh, I'm of the mind that uh, there are things that we know to be true without being able to prove why they're true. Um, Comes back to the truer than truth, right? Um, and I think we all have a moral intuition. I think we all inherently know right from wrong, and there's got to be a reason why we do that. And therein, I think, comes the metaphysics. Except for psychopaths. Psychopaths apparently don't have that ability to know right from wrong, or at the very least, they're not bound by it the way most people are. Um, yeah, and there's got to be a reason why this sense of right and wrong is so ingrained in our minds. We know injustice when we see it. It we abhor it. It makes us recoil when we see injustice, when we see suffering at the hands of people with malice. Um, yeah. So, and there's a reason why we all feel that way. And there may be an evolutionary reason why we all feel that way. There may be something more. I don't know.
Let's get into the weird a little bit. because Fisk seems to be open, even though sometimes maybe not frustrated with me per se, but frustrated with the concept of religion, right? Because again, I share the same frustrations with the institutions, with things like dogma. The ritual as ritual and being primary is a big problem for me, right? Stop asking so many questions is not really the response that you should have. You should have a good conversation like this, right? Instead of having it though with your priest, you're having it with me. just some drunk asshole on the internet, right? Uh, so and most morals come from religion, and that's a good thing. Yeah, I mean, it's very possible because despite the fact, Six had said, I'm a what is it, New Testament, Old Earth Christian. Yeah, science is a thing. I'm totally cool with science. Like I'm actually, I kind of, what's armchair cosmology and shit. Uh, Even yes, I somewhat familiar with the quantum physics too and all that, right? And but let's
You
get
see
into the weird.
Oppenheimer yet?
Yeah,
You what? I just watched it this weekend. It's a
it
good
was good.
movie.
It was good. I mean, like solid 7.5. It was a good
Yeah,
movie. I
yeah.
enjoyed it. I might watch it again in the future at some point. But like the way that like they went on and on about it, like, oh my god, this movie basically sucked my dick in the theater. Like it was good.
I know there was a lot of hype associated with it. No, it was a solid movie. You're right, absolutely right. Good performances, good movie, well written, well acted. Pacing was decent. Um, yeah, but it wasn't like, oh my god, this is a movie of the century. I'm like, I don't know about that.
No, it was good.
Um, it was a good movie. Yeah.
You should watch.
I
If you
watched
have,
another one. I watched another one today. Was it today or yesterday? Called Nefarious. Have you seen this one yet?
no, it sounds familiar though.
It's on Prime. There was a bit of a hoopla about it when it came out. Going back to the religion, I don't want to. We lost a few viewers probably because we were talking so much about God. Anyway,
It's all right. We should switch to a pure religion versus atheism stream. That should be our whole
that'd be
shtick.
fun. Um, the story is basically there's this it's in Oklahoma or something, right? And this guy on death row. They've tried to execute him a dozen times, but every time, uh, you know, because they have a law, I guess, that they need to be um, interviewed by a psychiatrist before they're executed to confirm that that they're sane, that they knew what they were doing when whether or not they had a psychologist in their trial, they get one now, kind of thing, right?
Right.
If
Okay.
psychologist says this person was not sane at the time of committing the crime, based on my interview with them about things, you can't execute them, right? And I don't know how true that is, but anyway, that's the premise of this story. So the psychiatrist goes and talks to a guy, and he's like on death row, and he's like, yeah, no, I'm actually a demon, and I'm gonna prove to you that I'm a demon, and basically, and your role here, the reason I got you here is because I want you to write my book. Basically,
Yeah.
the notion is that this guy is going to get the psychiatrist to write a new gospel for the new 21st century that will lead people towards Satanism, the way the Bible did to lead people towards Christianity.
Now they
Well,
don't
this
really
is
have
going to
to do
lead
that.
them.
They already
This is
have
going
it.
to lead them towards Satanism. Anyway, it's pretty good. The performance is pretty good, but it is very very steeped in religious belief, and it's very steeped in uh,
Blasphemy.
not blasphemy. It's actually, the funny thing is, the one arguing the existence of God and the existence of evil and that sort of stuff is the demon guy. The psychiatrist is an atheist. Anyway, it's worth watching. It's on Prime. It's not a great movie by any stretch, but it's not bad.
Okay. I want to get in the weird of it, but also, yes, this is a good. I actually already addressed this, right? It gives people person hope. I love that, but science disproves religion all the time. Not entirely true. And when I did my master's, I learned that you should only believe things that there is strong proof of. Why should I believe in a god when I can believe in humans? No, you should not believe in things there is only strong proof of. Absolutely not. before you started your educational path, you had absolutely zero proof that you would be successful. None at all. You had faith in your own capabilities. You had faith in the educational system. You had faith in all of those things and took those steps without any evidence of your actual success, of your actual outcome. Right? You have to have faith to take these steps because you don't have proof. Right? After the fact, you can look back and have the proof because now you have a piece of paper. You have the success. Before you have the success, you have no fucking proof. Right? So faith is not an unreasonable position. And you shouldn't only believe things of which there is strong proof. You actually should have faith in things that you don't actually know yet. Because if you don't, you can't go out on a scientific limb and prove a new theory. You can't make new discoveries scientifically without that faith that there's something somebody else is missing. In some cases, everybody else is missing. You don't come up with a theory of relativity unless you're willing to look at everything everybody else has discovered in science and say, I think you're all wrong, and I'm going to go out on a limb to try and prove it. So
It's a date. It's not a very good one. Clofisk, I used to be exactly like you,
mm,
and I still am to a degree. Like I said, I'm atheist, but
I think you cling to atheism.
no,
I think you're clinging, man.
look, I used to be. There's materialism, and that's it. There's a scientific method, and that's it. And if you believe in anything else, you're a fool. That there, God is living in the gaps that science is leaving behind as it understands them. The God of the gaps, they call it, right? The science is eventually going to unlock everything, and uh, God and religion will be made irrelevant. This is the notion from the
Yeah,
materialist. I don't believe that. I don't
I
believe that we're ever going to understand everything. I think the universe is impossible to fully understand. And even if we could peel back the layers of this physical universe and figure, okay, we now know exactly how matter works and why the strong nuclear force and the weak nuclear force and the gravity and the force of gravity and the electromagnetic forces, why they work the way they do. We actually have a theory of everything now. Even if that were to happen, we still wouldn't be able to understand the universe completely. And I will
well,
go as far as to say this: the people who believe that the answer lies in belief in a God, I don't think they know either. But and I don't think there's any amount of faith that will unlock the secrets of the universe either. So there's not enough science and there's not enough faith to unlock. It's too big. There's too much, and we just can't possibly know. We are too mortal to understand.
I do like that. It's kind of a joke, right? Science,
100% agree. Clinging hard.
science can explain absolutely everything as long as we allow science one miracle.
I don't have a god, Blowfisk. I told you I'm atheist. Um,
I think it is so stupid caring about a god what has nothing to do with the real world. Well, hold on. If a person finds Jesus and becomes better and puts good in the world, then God has something to do with the real world, some very real effect. If no matter how small, right? First of all, your God is probably wrong.
Zeus is
Zeus
greater
is
than
better
Odin.
than
Changed my
Odin.
mind.
The best part is he's Orthodox, right? But also Greek, so he has to step up and defend Zeus.
But not only that, you know what I think? Here's the thing. I'm going back to the comic books. In the comic books, the Olympian gods. Zeus and you
Hmm?
know and such, they were immortal, meaning they didn't die. But the Norse gods were never immortal. They were long-lived, they were extremely
Yeah.
powerful, but they could easily die. They could be killed. They could be killed by other gods. They could be killed by,
Yeah.
other Asgardians. Um,
Well, what's the end times
in
in the
Greek myth,
Olympian pantheon? Do they have an end times like the way the North have Ragnarok?
well,
Well, because here's the other thing: is actually Odin is kind of Jesus, right?
lost his eye.
And is pinned to a tree for 9 days, right?
That's
And
Prometheus
he
then.
he dies
Promet
and is no,
in
no,
Greek
no.
myth that no, but in Greek myth
Oh,
that's Prometheus. So
okay.
maybe that happened with Odin, but it also happened with Prometheus.
But yeah, Odin takes it upon himself to find knowledge, right? And yeah, he is pinned to the tree and dies and is resurrected. But instead of 3 days, it's 9. 3 days, 3 days alive, 3 days dead, 3 days risen.
Hmm.
Something like that.
In Greek
Uh,
mythology, Prometheus gave humans fire,
mhm,
and Zeus was trying to keep it from them because he knew that once they had fire, they would learn things and they would start to. So fire became the metaphor for the tree of knowledge, right? So
right.
fire would also allow them to smelt metal and make weapons. And so up until then, before Prometheus gave them fire, they were in a state of nature where they were basically primitives and barely human, right? But Prometheus said, "No, this isn't fair. They should have fire because they're wallowing in and dying at a young age, and this isn't fair. And this is your
They're
creation.
cold
How
and
can you?"
scared, and
Yeah,
yeah,
they're cold and scared, and I'm going to help them. Gives them fire. Zeus ties him to a rock where every day uh, a bunch of a pair of vultures would come and eat his liver, and his because he's immortal, his liver would regenerate, and every morning or every day, those birds would come back and eat his liver again. And he left him like that for a long, long time. And eventually he was freed. Zeus said, "Yeah, you know what? Okay, I guess it's not so bad what you did. So you're free again."
I like
Uh,
this last one because we're gonna get. I can get into the weird
no
here.
one cares about the gods. There are too many. Jesus was a prop, a scammer. There's really long before Jesus asked any Jew.
So okay, so I told you Johannite. Now, oh no, leave that up. Can we leave that up?
Hmm.
Christ is greater than all demigods. Yes, Pox, you're right. Uh, so okay, we, the smart Christian people, we got to fix for all this. You want the weird? You want the deep conspiracy theory me coming out here? Satan, very real character, has subverted most of Christianity. That's why Catholicism does everything wrong. Orthodoxy does everything wrong. Uh, and yeah, the book John, asking the Jews, the Gospel according to John is one of the canonical books that was a fucking mistake and oversight by Satan that has control of the Catholic Church, right?
Yeah.
They keep all the other books locked away and they decide what is in there, right, and what should be. But John was the anomaly. It just snuck past them. They didn't understand it. They didn't understand what they were putting into the world. The first three words of John are the same as the first three words of Genesis. In
Okay.
the
In the beginning, yeah, yeah. Well,
so
so the now when you were citing John 1:1, and I heard that he made the word was made flesh, you attributed that to him making Jesus come to earth, but it could easily be interpreted as making Adam come to life or bringing Adam to life, right?
in the context of the greater book and the rest of the chapter, it is very clearly Jesus. So in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
Right.
All right. And now it's in the context, it's actually several verses later, and the Word was made flesh,
Right.
talking about the now of it, the current
Right.
time. But the reason the in the beginning is important is because in the beginning, in Genesis, God made man and gave man the truth, the life, and the way. Right? So God gave man what we now call Christianity. But over an entire Old Testament, repeatedly, like this is what's called apologetics, right? The same way that I allow science to say nothing exploded into everything, and now we're going to do all the science based on this one miracle. You're going to allow me this one,
Right.
okay? Um,
So that's a misrepresentation of the Big Bang, but
it absolutely is not. I'm
I'll
actually
look
fairly
past it.
well versed in this. My problem is I'm bad at math, but it's basically the exact same thing. In the beginning,
Okay.
boom, let there be light. Let there be light and heat and matter. And that's where we start. Okay. It's basically the same story. But here we are. This is my fix for the other religions and the other gods and all this. And this is the fix. And you can say, yeah, it's easy, it's a cop out. Maybe, but it doesn't matter because it's the truth. All right. It may not be factual, but it's the truth.
You want
So
to hear my take? I might.
wait.
Sorry, I thought you were done. I thought you were done.
In the
Sorry.
beginning, God creates man and gives man the truth, the life, and the way. Now, over an entire Old Testament, over and over again, man strays so far from the truth, the life, and the way, the thing we now call Christianity. God keeps sending a prophet to say, hey, everybody, you're straying so far away from the truth, the life, and the way that was given to you by God. You're actually worshiping something else, some different thing. Maybe it's these Egyptian gods, maybe it's these Greek gods, maybe it's these Nord gods. But I'm trying to call you back to the truth, the life, and the way. And what do they do over and over again? They kill that prophet. So finally, we have a New Testament. And the John book is the anomaly. In the beginning, God comes down to do it in fucking self.
Right.
And now when they kill that prophet who says, I am calling you back to the first religion, the only religion, the one true God, and they kill him, he rises again and says, I fucking told you so, and goes up to heaven. So that's the proof for us, right? That, yeah, this is, and now because Christ is that powerful face of the religion, we call it Christianity. Like,
And
if,
so and that's why the Christ myth is the meta narrative that undergirds all of Western civilization, because that's where things changed. It was the first plot point, and when Christ returns and the red heifer gets sacrificed, that will be the second plot point. Anyway,
oh, hold on.
I have an answer. I have a like this was one of the things that was always brought about, and I think Gervais might have made a joke about this at one point too. So the atheist says, why would God need to sacrifice himself to himself in order to forgive humanity of their sins? And I think I have I think I have a reason why. Okay? And maybe I've said this before, maybe you've heard it from someone else before, I don't know. Here's the thing. So God has his creation, and he sees how his creation keeps sinning, doing things he doesn't want it to do. Right? From the very beginning, the first two people, they broke the rules. And God didn't understand why. He's like, why would you break the rules? I made them very clear. So he gets pissed off, casts him out of Eden, right? And all
First
through
thing
human
we did,
history, we
right?
have these cataclysms that are brought about by God because people are straying too far, like you said, right? But the whole time, God's like, what the fuck is with this sin? Why are they doing these things that I've told them are bad? What is it in them that makes them do these things? Like, I wouldn't do these things. I know that they're bad. So God says, you know what? The only way I can understand why sin exists, because that's the only thing that God can't understand, right? He's omnipotent and omniscient, but he can't experience sin because he's God. So what does he do? I will make myself mortal. I will go down amongst them and live within the sin, feel the temptations of the flesh, become a human being so that I can understand what it's like to be alive and mortal. So he goes down there. And because he does that, because he becomes mortal, he's like, oh, wow, this is really rough. There's a hot chick over there, and my pants are getting tighter. I
I
get it now. I understand lust. That guy, he took my parking spot in front of the temple. I understand rage now. This is God. He needed to experience sin
no,
firsthand as a
he didn't.
human in order to be able to forgive it and understand
No,
that people are flawed because they can't be perfect because they're not God. So he needed to have sort of a visceral understanding of sin in order for him to forgive it through sacrifice.
I understand why that's like a reasonable proposition for an atheist, but for a Christian, it implies an imperfection with God, something that God lacks, an ability to understand or like,
Well,
yeah,
by nature, by
but it,
by
which
virtue of
makes
who he
it, in
is,
my opinion, wrong. Like it
okay.
has
Well,
to be wrong because God is the perfect. God is
right.
the all.
He's
It's
the
the
alpha and
everything.
the omega. I understand that. But
So,
because he's perfect, okay, but what is sin though? Sin is basically imperfection. It's falling in it's failing in to act in the moral way. It's failing to do what is right, to what is to aspire to perfection. If God is perfect, that's the one thing he can't quite understand, and that would be sin, because he
no,
can't be
but,
imperfect. He can't fail because he's perfect. So
but
in
he
order
was
for him
all,
to understand the sinful nature of man, he needs to become one.
but he already understood the sinful nature of man. And God
But not in
doesn't
the same
lack
way.
a
But
backbone,
not
for
but not in the same
example.
way as living it viscerally is what I'm saying.
No, no, even better than that, actually, already before any of this. The point is to go down as a man, to rise again, but also because forgiveness was always possible, but seeking redemption had become so rare. So here you have now a principled person who would suffer and go through all these things and at in his last breath forgive, right? It's to set the example for people and to give the witness proof by rising again. Um, God lacks much. God lacks much more than that. A backbone, for example. God does not lack a backbone. God is all backbones, right? I don't know how.
You know what? I like my atheist story of why God became Jesus.
I you want that. You want
No,
to
I
see
just like it. I think it makes sense. I think it
you
makes
want to
sense.
relate to God, so you have to make him imperfect to relate to God. I understand that, but you
No,
that's
but here's the thing.
that's
I
the
mean,
wrong path.
how about this? I say he's imperfect. I say, how about this? He's perfect in that imperfection, in that he's incapable of being imperfect. The only way for him to be imperfect is to be mortal. So he becomes mortal.
We we can go to the Aquinas proofs if you want, but we'll
I never read Aquinas, so I know. Twitch viewers not disappointing tonight. Yeah, a bunch of comments from Plofisk.
yeah.
Uh, God, okay, yeah, backbone.
No, wait. There's
But
a
God
couple
made
up.
other animals way. What's oh
It doesn't even matter. There's one a couple up from there. And you know this how?
oh yeah yeah.
It's like a fairy tale. This one. That's the important one. That's the important one. So look, I'm a person. I'm flawed. I'm not exactly brave or tough, right? And if a bunch of people came into my house right now and just grabbed me with weapons and like we're like, oh, if you believe in Jesus, we're gonna fucking scourge you and fucking hang you, crucify you. I'd be like, Jesus, I don't know any Mexicans. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay,
You deny
huh?
Christ is what you're saying.
Who's who's king? Uh, what? Because I'm a man and flawed, and
Right.
I don't know that I could be that brave or tough in the face of that kind of proper violence. But I'll tell you this: for all the lack of primary sources in those Roman times, there is a lot of secondary sources and information that you can find that show that while the Romans were hunting down the last of what they thought was the last of the Christian sect, the people that followed Christ, Christ was witnessed by 500 or so people at Golgotha to have died, and by almost 500 people to have risen from the dead. The Romans caught 400 of them and scourged them and crucified them, the whole time saying, this all ends and you can go free if you deny that you saw Jesus die and resurrected. Not one captured person recanted their testimony. Not one. I would recant right fucking now if
Yeah,
two
and you know
dudes
what?
with guns
The
came
ones
to
who
my house.
did, the ones who did, they did it just to survive, and then they went on and they still believed in Christ. So
Not one caught person. Caught. Some 100 people were not caught, and those are the people who spread the word. But the 400 out of the 500 who were caught, not one recanted. Not one. There are no even secondary sources that say, and then this guy who claimed he saw Jesus die and resurrected changed his mind, and we let him go. There's nothing.
and
There's none of it.
and you know this how? It doesn't matter because knowing is not the point. Believing is the point. Um, in
Wait,
any event, uh,
no, you don't know
you might have
anything.
been told a lie.
Wait, wait, wait.
Sure.
Hold on. Yes, you know this how. Were you there? The sources, the historical records, all right? Again, there are no primary sources from the time. We know this. But the Romans kept impeccable records and then made secondary sources of those records and made tertiary sources of those records, and the records persisted. So the records we do have, there are no incidences of, and then we caught a Christian who claimed they saw Jesus crucified and resurrected. We whipped him enough till he said, forget it, I didn't see it, I never saw it. These are
Uh,
records. You're an educated person. You have access to these things. You can actually go into those. And Islam
Islam
made
made
great
great
records
records too. You know who made the best records? The Beatles.
too.
Their
I knew,
their
I
dis
knew it.
their
I knew it. Pretty
discology is
good.
fucking phenomenal, frankly. Um, my point is like, look, it doesn't matter. Like you're asking to prove something, and it doesn't matter if it was factually true or not.
I'm saying this. No, no, no. Here's what I'm saying. What do you think is more likely? You have to balance probabilities here.
Right.
You can't know, but you can balance probabilities. What is the more likely thing? Some 400 people were scourged and crucified because they wouldn't stop lying, or one person, one time, rose from the dead. I'll tell you right now, based on my knowledge of myself, if someone came in here with a fucking scourge and said, I'm going to be crucified if I don't renounce Jesus, whoa, buddy. Yeah, I know my own human frailty. 400 people? 400?
What's a scourge?
So it's like a whip, but a little bit shorter. And instead of a single piece of leather, it's several, and each end of leather has a barbed hook on it.
Hmm.
So they put you down on your knees and tie your hands and face to a post so your back is parallel with the ground.
Hmm.
And they stand on one side of you and throw the scourge to the other side, burying it in your ribs so all the barbs hook
And then you
real
pull
good,
it back.
and they pull it. Yeah, 400 people.
That's mean.
But if somebody got you tied up and pulled out the scourge and said, renounce Jesus,
If I were to bet on a religion, it would be Islam, to be honest. That makes no sense, but I know why. Because you're in Norway, and your country's been invaded by them.
because
Um,
you've been cucked by Islam.
Islam kept great records too. You know what? Islam
But records of what?
Islam is founded by an illiterate child rapist. So
No, but that's the other thing is Islam's great records actually disprove most of Islam. That's what's funny. And the scholars just work their way around it the same way that the Talmud is a collection of ways to skirt through the rules that Jews are supposed to be following. Right. And like get around and talk their way into whatever it is they want in the moment. Uh yeah, like I mean, it's the third rightly guided caliph, Umar, who basically has written the story of how this was at the time when the Quran was only in people's heads; it was not written down. And they went to battle and they won the battle, but they lost several hundred soldiers, many of whom were carrying in their heads particular verses.
why are Norwegians like this? I'm not a fan of Islam. It was just my bet to be my bookmaker. Oh, meaning you're going to be killed by Islam? Yeah, we
No,
probably
no,
all are.
his bet on look,
Oh, which one is correct?
yeah, but
And as the atheist, I'm saying none of them are any more correct than the other because the truth is that no one knows. No one can know. Scientists and religious alike. The universe is far too complex and far too mysterious, and there is majesty in the mystery.
Umar writes that yeah, those several hundred soldiers with their deaths are gone hundreds of verses from the Quran forever. And that's why he collected all the verses and wrote them down for the first time because they were never supposed to be written down. They were all supposed to be memorized for that, what they call the perfect preservation, which is one of the miracles of Islam, that the Quran has been perfectly preserved. It has not. Right away, within two generations, 30 odd years from the death of the Prophet Muhammad, the Quran was corrupted. It's gone. The whole Quran is not in existence anymore. There is no perfect preservation. And even now, from some 30 different publishers, you can find tens of thousands of differences in their publications.
The truth is, no one is correct. Nope, I'm correct. Um,
No, it's me.
no, me. The average Norwegian is enlightened by their own intelligence. Tips
Oh,
Fedora. Fuck me. That's funny. And to be honest, there are
you
so
got to
many
forgive
people that believe in
Foxy the
different
back.
gods. It does not matter. All of them are wrong, and it's probably a religion we don't even know about.
No,
Yeah.
it's Christ, and yeah,
Well,
it's it's the most successful religion that doesn't murder you for leaving. So that's basically your proof. You have two really vast religions. One murders you for leaving and is currently outnumbering the other. Right?
you know why Islam can't be trusted, right? Because of taqiyya,
Yeah, there's that.
the practice that it is admirable to lie about what it is you believe in.
Yeah, you lie to kafars about what the religion says and states because you don't need to be truthful to people outside the religion. Same with Judaism. Like there's rules in the Talmud about not telling the Goyim, right? Don't tell the Goyim these things we believe because it's literally written in the Talmud that way. They kill us open. Uh, well, basically, their something in the Talmud is that everyone who's not Jewish is cattle to be used. Uh, yeah,
Well, Goyim. This is from Pox. This is Pox Toxic Takes. He posted this in a group chat that we all have here. Christ is King. Are you free tomorrow? Looks at statue, remembers him. I am free for eternity. I have no words. I have no words. What the? Oh, stop sharing. What's going? You're getting all pixelated and cutting out on me there, Mister
It's
Twin.
you.
It's me.
It's you. Yeah.
I don't know. To me, you're the one who's doing it.
Yeah. Learn more in thousands of years. Jesus talked.
I mean, but humanity is so young, we might learn more in 1,000. Yeah, we'll probably keep learning more, but the mysteries of the universe will never be truly unwound. Jesus DDoS'd him. Yeah, could be. It's Irv on our end, so people watching are saying it's you, Irving. I think you're about to cut out. You sound like a robot. You sound like a robot who's high.
It
Yeah,
tells me.
you're like I
Uh,
can't I can't hear you. I can't understand. Oh, you're starting to free up now.
how about now?
That's better.
I mean, okay, so humanity is young. We might learn more in thousands of years, sure. But we have learned over 2,000 years quite a bit. And Christianity has evolved, and the Christian mythology and the analysis of moral philosophy very long way. Right? Like in if the Muslims in Arabic, it, it, I, a lot of
We're losing you, man.
I'm here.
Okay, now you're not cutting out anymore.
Well, I mean, I was saying like it wasn't Buddhist in Asia. It wasn't Muslims in Arabia. It's not Hindus in India. It's not Jews. It was Christian people in the Western world that decided hundreds of years ago maybe the concept of owning another human being is bad. Right? So the 2,000 years from Christ till now, we've come a long, long way through these analyses, deep analyses, the moral philosophy. We've done a good job mostly doing this. Like, there's more slaves today than there ever was in the history of the world. None of them legally in white Western nations.
Hey, Irving, you know what?
Heard none of that.
Very little of it. I'm gonna kick you, and I want you to rejoin. Okay?
All right.
Fuck that guy. Uh, he's gonna rejoin in a second. We're gonna move on to the no one tells jokes anymore portion because we've gotten very, very deep and philosophical, and there's been a little bit of punchiness between Plo Fisk, the Norwegian atheist, and Irving Twin, the uh, alcoholic Christian. Where'd he go? Why isn't he coming back? He should come back. So I'm gonna move on to some jokes. Here he is. Welcome. How's
Thank
that?
you. Is it better?
Yes, much better.
Okay. Oh,
I
I
have a
lost.
joke for you tonight. Oh, Pox has got a joke for me.
No, no, but hold on. Fisk had said something like, "Not true. Didn't the U.S. have slaves?" Literally every nation everywhere in all of history had fucking slaves. And it wasn't until Christian nations and their philosophy based on Christianity.
Pox, Pox, this. I have a joke for you tonight. Norway.
Oh,
At least my healthcare was free. No, it wasn't. You paid for it in taxes. Um, I have so-called
they
free
do get
healthcare as
great.
well, and it's nothing. It's
No, no,
it's
no.
nowhere near
Nor-
free.
Norway's is real
Norway,
good.
that's the joke.
Norway's is real good, and they get a huge fucking oil rebate. Uh, so
Well, a master's degree. Well, what good has it got you? You're still asking rudimentary questions about God.
you're still a godless heathen.
Just fucking with you, Fisk. Great to have you on board. We like
It
having these
really
kinds of
is. Yeah,
discussions.
no.
We really do.
I like this guy. I like the way he talks. He chats,
Yeah.
and he doesn't go all flat Earth and shit. That's
We're not
great.
Americans. We're Canadians. We have to pay for our university too, but I flunked out of community college, so I think Twin, you went to university, didn't you?
No, no, no. I went to college for art.
Oh, I did. I went to college for art too. I studied animation.
Oh, so we're both fake and gay. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're both faking gay. All right, jokes, because this is the point of the show where no one tells jokes anymore. So we're gonna tell some jokes. I got a couple. You got any tonight, Mr. Twin?
I might have a stupid one if I can find a way to do it right. Hold on. You
All
go
right.
ahead. Tell us a joke.
All right. So I'm just gonna do some stupid dad jokes. Why aren't there a lot of jokes about peaches?
I don't know. Why aren't there a lot of jokes about peaches?
Because most of them are pitiful.
Uh, Yikes. Okay.
What's worse than raining cats and dogs?
I don't know what's worse than raining cats and dogs.
Hailing taxis.
Okay, that's actually clever.
That's not bad.
I'm not totally mad at that. So you got another joke or what?
Yeah. Did you hear about the archaeologist who got fired?
No.
His career was in ruins.
Again, clever. Like it's not
Yeah.
really as funny as I'm giving it credit by laughing, but it's clever.
A lot of these are really bad.
So I've probably got a joke. I mean, it's going to be real stupid. Um,
Go for it.
okay, first you have to share something for me.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
it's not even a dad joke. It's like a joie de père because it's in French.
Okay. I don't speak French or understand French,
I'll, I'll,
but I
I'll
will.
I'll help. I'll help as best I can. Okay.
Okay. Go for it, man.
Right. So I have this. You see this picture, right?
I do. Yeah.
And I say, "Regarde, look at this." And you say, "Qu'est-ce que c'est? What's that?" I say, "C'est une cloche. It's a bell." And you say, "Ça ce n'est pas une cloche. That's not a bell." I say,
Hmm.
"What? Deline, Deline, Deline."
That's fucking terrible, and you should feel bad.
I do.
Diddly-
I, I feel terrible.
These are fucking awful. The ones I'm reading here.
At least I had a joke.
Yes, you did.
Okay, all right. Look, we did the whole religion thing, so let's go with the religious joke. I don't know if I've told it. Maybe I have.
Okay, go for it.
So, God tells Adam and Eve, be fruitful and multiply. And then he
Right.
fucks off for a while, right? And, a little while later, he comes back and Adam's just fucking chilling out in the grass. And, God's like, hey, so Adam, how was it? How'd that go? And he's like, oh, yeah, that's fucking great. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for that, God. Oh, yeah, okay, good, good. And, where's Eve off to? He says, oh, well, I kind of messed that girl up. She's out washing in the river. And God goes, oh, no, no, why, what? Oh, and Adam goes, what? No, what? What's wrong? He goes, God says, I'll never get that smell out of my fish.
I've heard something similar to that one. Yeah, that's funny. We hate women here. Uh, we're misogynists. My brain hurts now.
It's from the French one.
We. Well, folks, that's about it. I think we're going to call it a night. I hope you've had a great time. I've had a great time. It was a very lively and thought-provoking uh, discussion, and I look forward to doing it again. Next week, we'll be doing Casual AF on Irving Twins channel, if inshallah, as they say. Praise be upon him. His fault. Um, I'll probably record another video sometime this week. I'm on 10 to 6 this week, so I'll probably be going to the gym in the morning. I may record a video on the way to the gym. Depends on what comes across my news feed and I have an opinion about. But if you're not subscribed, I hope you all will. I do this every other Saturday. I do Friday night game streaming sometimes, normally every Friday, but this last Friday we didn't. And then I do these silly little car videos where I take my dogs to the park and talk about topics of the day. And hey, you could just watch to look at my cute dogs in the car. I've also been uploading some shorts, of me at the park with the dogs. They've been getting a decent amount of views, like in the 500 to 500, 800 range.
Shorts do, yeah.
Yeah, go figure, 60-minute, 60-second shorts where I'm just walking through the park with the dogs and they're playing and running around and shit.
Just
Yeah,
doggos. People love
just
doggos.
who doesn't love doggos? Muslims, that's who doesn't love doggos.
Yeah.
That's another reason why you shouldn't trust them. They
Some
don't eat
Indians.
bacon. They don't like dogs, and they find fart jokes offensive. If
And
that's
they don't
why
even
that's
drink,
why you
yo.
and they don't even drink, and that's why you shouldn't follow Islam because they're a bunch of humorless cunts. Anyway,
Yeah.
folks, have yourselves a great night. You got anything else you want to say?
Just Fisk, read some John, That's all.
And be prepared to have miracles happen
Avoid
in your life.
avoid the dogma, avoid the institution. Just read some John. That's all.
And Jordan B. Peterson. Have a good night, folks.
JVP. Hail Sigmar.